Okay, 13.22. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti gyan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasatyo nijanmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. The living entity thus follows the ways of life, enjoying three modes of nature. Ways of life means if he is taken a body of a dog, then he will follow the way of the dog life. If he's got a body of a hog, way of hog life. Body of a human, way of human life. And in all bodies, he will enjoy modes of nature. Because why is he enjoying modes of nature? Because he's associated with material nature. So the Jiva Atma is associated with material nature, which means that it wants association of material nature. So it is enjoying and suffering the modes of nature. So thus he meets with good and evil. Good and evil means happiness and distress he will experience. This is all because of his association with material nature. Jiva wants to associate with material nature. Jiva, so it is whether we want to enjoy material nature or whether we don't want to enjoy material nature. If you want to enjoy material nature, then we associate with the body and think everything associated with the body is mine and the whole bodily conception. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another, just as one changes his dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. So this is the whole key. Attachment to material existence. And okay, so how do devotees make progress on the path of bhakti? First, there is detachment from external sense objects. So sense objects related to eyes, ears, etc. External sense objects. Then the next level of detachment is with respect to the body. External sense objects, then attachment to the body. So attachment to external sense objects, second level attachment to body, and so we have to become detached from the body also. Then we can be situated in the position of self, meaning we are completely devoid of bodily conception. But this whole change of dress is because of attachment to material existence, either material objects or the body itself. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, which is this material existence, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Why? Due to his desire to lord it over material nature. So attachment to material existence is also with a desire to lord it over material nature. Is put into such undesirable circumstances under the influence of material desire. The entity is born sometimes as demigod, man, beast, bird, worm, etc. This is going on, and in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet he is under the influence of material nature. So this is illusion. So these two statements are actually the key for us to get out of this material world. This change of dress is due to attachment to material existence, and due to desire to lord it over material nature is put into undesirable circumstances. So which means we should give up this attachment to material existence. We should give up this desire to lord it over material nature. If we can do these two, then we will get out of this material world. I mean, even to get out of this material world means what? I mean, even practicing bhakti, to practice bhakti, as we practice bhakti, we have to make progress. We have to achieve these stages. And as we are practicing bhakti slowly, we will see some changes in ourselves. Then we also we pray to Krishna. We want to make progress, and but the stages are that first is this Brahma Bhuta. So we have to go to Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta means complete detachment from anything material, sense objects or body. That has to be achieved, because only then we achieve pure devotional service. How he is put into such different bodies explained here. It is due to association with different modes of nature. This we understand. One has to raise above the modes of nature and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another, because he has material desires from time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. See, Prabhupada is saying that that conception has to be changed. How do we bring about the change? By hearing from authoritative sources, like Arjuna is doing now. If the living entity submits to this hearing process, then he will lose his long cherished desire to dominate. So just by hearing, see, so powerful, just by hearing, one can lose this long cherished desire to dominate material nature. And gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. So this is also proportional. So we might be engaged in bhakti, but we might not experience spiritual happiness because we have not given up this desire to dominate. And how will this desire to dominate go? By hearing. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with Supreme Lord, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life, which is absolutely what one experiences. Okay, so this is a very, very important verse. So basically, this whole transmigration is happening because of attachment to material existence, desire to lord it over material nature, and solution is that we have to hear from authoritative sources. And if we submit to this hearing process, then the long cherished desire to dominate will reduce, and proportionately he will enjoy spiritual happiness. This is the mantra. Okay, any questions? Okay, 13.23. Upadrashtanumantacha cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purusha paraha. Yet in this body there is another. So far the discussion was about the soul. And now Krishna is saying there is yet another enjoyer, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. We are proprietors, the Lord is the supreme proprietor. So nothing happens in material life without the sanction of the super soul. That is why Krishna actually in many cases tells Arjuna saying surrender unto the super soul. Though super soul is just an amsha, expansion of Krishna. Krishna is saying surrender to super soul, because in the material world super soul is supreme in the sense, in the role that he is playing. It is stated here that the super soul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not an ordinary living entity. Because the monist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there's no difference between super soul and individual soul. Monists, Nirakaravadis, mainly they are also monists. Okay, monists could be different also. To clarify this, the Lord says that he is represented as a Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is para, transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, which is the body, which we understood last time. But the super soul is present not as finite enjoyer, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. He is the witness to everything that we do. He oversees our actions. He permits, saying, okay, you want to do. Okay, now you take responsibility of this action. And he is the supreme enjoyer. So Anumanta, permitter, Upadrushta, overseer, and he's also the Sakshi, witness. And he's the supreme enjoyer, Purusha, Parama Purusha. His name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. It is distinctly clear that the Atma and Paramatma are different. The super soul, the Paramatma, has legs and hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, he is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual is Bhukta or sustained, and the Lord is Bhokta or the maintainer. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend. So we should understand this, that without sanction of Supreme Individual, Supreme Soul, Paramatma, individual soul cannot do anything. So as individual soul, we should not think. That is why those 5 reasons for action is given, in which one is super soul. So we should not ever, it is foolish to think that I did something, because I cannot do anything, literally anything, without help from super soul, without sanction from super soul. So because he is the permitter, he has to permit. If he doesn't permit, then we can't do anything. So without his permission, nothing can happen. So we cannot think that we are the doers. I did this, I achieved this. The fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. This friend also mostly, Paramatma is our friend because he is present in every body, irrespective of what type of body we take. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called marginal energy. He has this tendency to reject Krishna. How stupid we are. So that is why we are marginal energy. The living entity can be situated either in the material or in the spiritual energy. As long as he is conditioned, Supreme Lord as his friend Super Soul stays with him just to get him to return to the spiritual energy. So Super Soul is our friend. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy. But due to his minute independence, the living entity is continuously rejecting association. How crazy. This misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and from without. From without, he gives instructions as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. See, Prabhupada is using here tries to convince, not that it is not possible for the Lord to convince. Why he has to try? Because we will reject. We will not accept it. It is not the question of ability of the Lord. It is the misuse of our freedom, because of which his attempt to convince will not work. Just give it up and turn your faith toward me. Then you will be happy, he says. Thus, the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma or Supreme Personality of Godhead begins to advance towards a blissful eternal life of knowledge. Who places his faith in the Paramatma begins to advance toward blissful eternal life. So, Paramatma is so important that we should not forget. He is our friend. He is with us. He is our permitter. He is the permitter. Nothing happens without his sanction. He is always eager to take us back, but we have been rejecting it. So we have to come to our senses, take his guidance. Actually, in second canto, third chapter, Prabhupada writes in one verse, one purport about how intelligence is coming from Paramatma. All intelligence is coming from Paramatma, because Paramatma knows what we are supposed to get. To get something, we have to act. So that intelligence is given by Paramatma. So literally, we can't do anything without him. It is sheer ignorance to think that I did something. 24. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasa bhuyo bhijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again regardless of his present position. It's very interesting. Regardless of his present position, if we didn't know about material nature, living entity, and modes, then we are in ignorance. But then, as soon as we understand this philosophy, one is sure to attain liberation, because mm, we cannot forget this relationship that living entity is non-material, then there's material nature, then there are modes of nature. So automatically, if not today, after 10 years, 100 years, 100 lifetimes, we will still keep making progress on this path. Now that we have come on this path and understand that we are spiritual, we are not material, today or tomorrow we will come to the platform of liberation. Liberating meaning disconnecting ourselves from this material world. So he will not take birth here again. But it is not saying at the end of this life only. It might take us multiple lifetimes. Bonam Janmanam Ante. Clear understanding of material nature, super soul, individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible. That is why Prabhupada is clarifying here. Makes one eligible to become liberated and turn to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return. So one becomes eligible. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that living entity has by chance fallen into material existence. By chance, as in not by luck or anything. As in many living entities are there in the spiritual world, only few of them have fallen. So there is, by his personal endeavor in association with authorities, saintly persons, and spiritual master, Guru Sadhu Shastra, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita, as explained by personally awarded. Then it is certain that he will never come again. So this eligible, we become eligible. And when we hear this knowledge, like I said, it will work on us depending on how fast we want it to work. If you're engaged in the process of bhakti, then it's very powerful. If you're doing offenseless bhakti, bhakti without aparadha, then we will absolutely very quickly see this change in us, that we get liberated and we get disconnected from this material world around us.
So eligible means not necessarily this life, is it? Like,
Not
it is just a chance.
Yeah, we become eligible. Like, see, eligibility means that now onwards, any time you can become liberated. Like Katwang Maharaj, in 1 second he became liberated. Parikshit Maharaj became liberated, whatever, right? As in, we can take lifetimes, we can take one life, we can take few years, we can take few months, few minutes, few seconds. It depends on us, because it is the beginning. Once we understand that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, the next moment is we know that we are servants of Krishna. That means done, no? All knowledge that we had to know in this world, we have come to know. Now, whether we will implement it today only, or whether we'll implement it 100 years from now or 100 lifetimes from now, that is left to us. That is our free will. But we become eligible. We are on the path.
Okay.
25. ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये सांख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. Some perceive the super soul through meditation, others through gnana, still others through karma. So dhyana, gnana, karma. Krishna is saying that there are different ways to perceive the super soul. Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes. Atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. Atheists, we understand. Agnostics and skeptics are similar. Agnostics, actually, what does agnostic mean? That they don't know, I think. Doubter, okay, skeptic only, or questioner, challenger. who believes that nothing is known. Okay. So he challenges. He says that no, nothing is known. Atheist means he absolutely doesn't believe. Agnostic says that no, you cannot know. You cannot know about Lord. Skeptic, he is just okay. I am just doubtful. So there are three levels of faith. They are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. So one who says that there's only one soul, no super soul, individual soul separation, they're also among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond the material nature, the spiritual world, Supreme Lord. Hmm? So, of course, there are those who try to understand supreme truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th element. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to material elements, they're able to understand also that above the individual soul is the super soul, is the 26th element, or the supreme personality of God. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhupada here is explaining how Gnanis, or Sankhya philosophers, then Gnanis also are faithful. Sankhya philosophers also come to Supreme Lord eventually. And those who work with fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. So they are given a chance to advance to the material platform. So those who are engaged in karma, gnana, dhyana, they're all okay because they'll be given a chance. These atheists, agnostic, skeptics are the ones who cannot. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand Supreme Soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Prabhupada is anyway belittling the other paths, but he's saying still they can still come to the platform of understanding Super Soul. Not an issue. Anye tva evam ajanantah shrutvanyebhya upasate tepi chatittarantyeva mrityum shruti parayana. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Just by hearing, they're not conversant in spiritual knowledge. Just by hearing about him, they worship. Somebody says, okay, just worship Krishna, they take up and worship. They don't have to have any spiritual knowledge. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend. But this is very important. They have to know who is the authority, who is not. At least that much, either intelligence or some mercy that they should come to the right authorities. Or sincerity, and hope that Krishna, or be as much sincere that Krishna will show us the path. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society, there's practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there's no knowledge of philosophy. For the common man, if he's a good soul, then there's a chance for advancement by hearing. The hearing process is very important. So Lord Chaitanya gave great stress to hearing because if common man simply hears, he can make progress, but he has to hear from authority. If he hears the transcendental sound vibration Hare Krishna, it is stated there. It is stated here that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya said no need to change position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand by speculation. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, follow in his footsteps, one will gradually elevate to the position of a pure devotee. This verse, particularly process of hearing, is strongly recommended. This is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable of so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to God. So hearing from authorities, just by that hearing, one worships the Supreme Lord, achieves perfection. So powerful. So no need of any intelligence for this. And that is why any person and every person can worship the Supreme Lord, irrespective of how much knowledge, intelligence, other qualifications. Yavat sanjayate kinchit Sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetragna samyoga tadviddhi paradarshava. Know that whatever you see in existence, both moving and non-living, is only a combination of field and nor of field. Everything is just a combination of kshetra and kshetragna. That's it. Both material nature and living entity, which are existing before creation, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of living entity and material nature. That's it. There are many manifestations, non-moving, many manifestations which are moving. All of them are but combinations of material nature and living entity. Without touch of superior nature, living entity, nothing can grow. Relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Meaning affected means made possible by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. In this case, superior nature is a living entity. And thus all these activities and manifestations take place. So everything is just a combination of these two.
So, bro, even the mountains and hills, they also contain spirit soul, is it?
There you spirit soul, yeah, because Prabhupada also says, no, even on a rock, sometimes you see vegetation. You see a plant growing. So it's not that everywhere it is there, but it can be there.
Yeah.
Paramatma enters every atom, but the soul doesn't have to enter every place, but it can appear anywhere. Like, like some moss which grows on a damp wall, right? Now there's Jiva, got life. So it can be present anywhere, but whatever is present is a combination of these two. So if suppose there is no Jiva there, then it is Prakriti. But if there is Jiva, then it will grow. Like a mountain, if actually in somewhere I also heard mountain also has Jiva because mountain grows and shrinks also. So this is a very complex. There's one conversation that in Prabhupada's room conversations. So there are two schools of thought. One school of thought says that Jiva is also present everywhere. So anyway, it's complex, but generally it is, we should understand whatever it is nothing beyond Jiva and Prakriti. There's nothing else in this material world beyond these two.
Yeah.
See, some of these topics are very controversial, like, did Jiva fall, or things like this, like Atma is all pervading. So there are few things which different philosophers have different views. So Prabhupada has also not very elaborately explained some of these, but in some room conversations he has discussed them in more detail. So to whatever extent we can understand, the important thing is that we are soul and we are servants of Krishna. Everything else is a little bit, that's why we are not like really that kind of philosophers, right? Then we have to read a lot more to come to that depth. Currently our intention is to get enough knowledge so that we don't get any further attached to material world. That is where we are. And of course, parallelly also develop some attachment to Krishna.
Yes.
At least that is my goal, because otherwise there's no end to it. How much there is to gain in terms of knowledge. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinasyan avinashyantam yapashyati sa pashyati. One who sees super soul accompanying individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees. Anyone by good association can see three things: body, proprietor of body, individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, super soul. Unless one has association with real knower or spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body, and they think that the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist, and they go on eternally in various moving and non-moving forms. Sanskrit word Parameshwara is sometimes translated as individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshwara as to be super soul. Either case, both of them will continue. They're not destroyed. One who can see this can actually see what is happening. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram na hinastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by the mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. So this is super critical. Prabhupada has written a small purport. The whole reason why we are in this material world is because we are not applying this instruction. We are not seeing super soul everywhere, in every living entity. So we end up degrading ourselves because the mind just functions randomly. It it wants to criticize somebody, it wants to appreciate somebody, it likes somebody, dislikes somebody. So we are looking just on the bodily platform or the mental platform and not looking at the super soul at all. And because of this, we are degrading ourselves, and we just lose we go to higher positions, then we come down lower positions. All this is happening just because of this. So this is the first thing actually in bhakti we have to do, is start seeing super soul in every jiva. Otherwise we end up doing jiva himsa. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur says in Jaiva Dharma, if you do jiva himsa, there is no question of making tangible spiritual progress. If you have to stop doing jiva himsa, we have to see super soul in every jiva and respect. Why super soul? Why not only soul? Soul, we might know, okay, I'm also soul, he's also soul. Oh, okay. No. Super soul, because super soul is higher, greater. So we look at super soul and we respect that living entity. In that, okay, super soul is there, jiva is also there. Then we see from a non-bodily kind of spiritual platform, we see other living entities, not on the mundane material platform. So then we will not degrade ourselves in our behavior, through our behavior. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity, he does not degrade himself by destructive mentality. This is a destructive mentality, doing offenses, sins. So when he stops that, then he gradually advances. Otherwise, he keeps degrading. The mind is generally addicted to sense-gratifying processes. But when the mind turns to the super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. So if you're talking about somebody also, then this is because of this degraded, because we are not looking at this person as soul, super soul. We're looking at them and we are having a material vision. We are evaluating their material activities, their material thoughts, etc. So this is a sense gratifying process. By criticizing, we become happy. By paining somebody, we become happy. I mean, all different kinds of people in this world, and uh, this that is why there is adi bhautik klesha. From other living entities, we experience pain because this is their job. Nobody asks for, but people express the. I've seen like so many of my mother and her siblings, their conversations, etc. It's just about other people. 99% of the time, the conversation is about other people. So what will that do? Degrade us. They'll never see the super soul in the other person. Gossip, 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 and then fall down. It's very important that we have to see the super soul. We have to see the super soul. We have to respect every living entity. Only then we can think about making some progress. Okay, so I'll stop here. 15.29. Okay, any questions from anybody? Okay, no questions. Hope